From Elevate Digital, the Vocal Minority Report presents the Negro News Minute. Dateline, San Bernardino, California. 53-year-old Cedric Anderson entered North Park Elementary School in San Bernardino, and all hell broke loose shortly thereafter. The shooter was a teacher's ex, police say, and he carried out an apparent murder-suicide. I've seen conflicting reports on the status of their marriage, with one report describing the teacher, Karen Smith, as his estranged ex-wife. I'm curious how you can be both estranged and ex. Nevertheless, she was shot and killed, as well as two students that were tragically injured, according to law enforcement. One being 8-year-old Jonathan Martinez. The shooter then turned the gun on himself. Students were evacuated to nearby Cal State University. The other boy hit is still in critical condition. Authorities are looking into Anderson's criminal background, which does include domestic violence and weapons charges. A .357 revolver was found next to Anderson, who was believed to have fired 6 rounds before reloading. There was no indication the gun was visible upon his arrival at the school. Anderson had told the school that he had come to drop something off for Smith. Despite this being a clear tragedy, there have only been happy Passover tweets, threats to North Korea, and an endorsement for a congressional candidate in Kansas, but nothing on this yet another tragic sad event in San Bernardino. There's been no response from Trump. Dateline, South Carolina. Self-avowed white supremacist Dylann Roof pleaded guilty to state murder charges for the 2015 massacre of 9 black people at Emmanuel African American Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina. This included the assassination of State Senator Reverend Clemente Pinckney, a Democratic state senator for South Carolina's 45th District for 14 years. He was only 41.
Mr. Bennett, how does your client wish to plead? I believe you previously said he wished to plead guilty. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, on all counts.
All right, from your investigation, facts, and circumstances of the case, do you feel that the state can produce sufficient evidence to convince the jury of his guilt?
Yes, sir, I do.
And you feel that's in his best interest to enter the guilty plea?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, Mr. Roof, you're pleading guilty to 9 counts of murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. Is that correct?
Yes.
I would also like to say to the victims, I'm awful sorry for your loss. It's a tremendous loss. It's a tremendous loss to the community, and there's just no way to explain it. I don't think anybody can explain it why it happened, but it did happen, and Mr. Roof is going to be sentenced accordingly here in state court as well as in federal court. And I do hope that today will put an end to or at least put some closures where you can start suffering or get over the suffering and you're grieving and move on. If you can move on, I don't think you ever get over something like this. You just sort of don't think about it and move on in life. But I'm awful sorry for the victim's loss. It's a real tragedy. It's a tragedy to the community. And I wish I could sit here and say, hey, I know why it happened, but I don't. I don't think anybody knows why. I know the news media, every time they have a crime, first they want to know is why. Well, if it was a sane process, a sane act, they may have a why, but it's not a sane act. It's a crazy act. It's a foolish act. It's crazy. But I do want to say I'm extremely sorry for the victims, and I do hope that this will bring some closure to you and your families in the future. Thank you so very much.
You just heard both the plea and the judge's comments there before sentencing him to 9 consecutive lifetime prison terms plus 90 years, and what prosecutors called an insurance policy in case something happens to his federal conviction and death sentence. Family members of the victims again took the time to tell him words of forgiveness and remind him that he had been forgiven, while Roof sat there staring ahead and not saying much. Many of the family members who spoke praised the conclusion of the courtroom ordeal. Only one, Eva Jackson Dillagard, said she disagreed with Roof's life sentence, saying that he should get death in the state case too for doing something so heinous. I'm a child of God, said Dillagard, victim Susie Jackson's sister, but he hurt the entire family. The sentencing in state court does likely clear the way for him to be transferred to a federal prison. Death row inmates are housed at a Terre Haute, Indiana facility. Roof was convicted of 33 federal charges, including hate crimes and religious rights violations, and sentenced to death in January. Ninth Circuit Solicitor Scarlett Wilson said Monday she has more confidence under the new administration that the federal government will carry out the ultimate punishment. This is the surest way to see that Dylann Roof is executed, Solicitor Scarlett Wilson said. Hopefully the court system will wind on so we can see the defendant as executed in due time, she's quoted as saying. Now, usually here I'd give my views on the death penalty, but I'll keep them to myself on this one.
The age where nobody knows what the fuck they're even looking at. Did you know that Planned Parenthood was for abortions? It's for people that don't plan things out at all. That's right. So a guy your age doesn't really know how he feels. Are you pro-choice? Are you anti-consequences? What does it all really mean?
Dateline New York City. Shonda Rhimes, the queen of Thursday nights and perhaps primetime in general, is being lauded and receiving high praise as she joins the National Board of Planned Parenthood. The president of Planned Parenthood, Cecile Richards, said on her Twitter page last week, "It's not every day that a gifted storyteller who speaks truth to power every Thursday night joins the Planned Parenthood board." Rhimes said, "When someone you really admire calls on you to serve, you say yes." She also said, "The fact is that women's health is under fire right now, and so to me, it feels like it's important to help fight back." She went on to say that, "I'm fortunate. I've always had medical care. I've always had access. I've never personally had to use a Planned Parenthood." She said that after noting the availability of Planned Parenthoods throughout her life, "I found that interesting, so I wanted to make sure you guys heard that." You all may remember in November of 2015 on Scandal, Olivia Pope, everyone's favorite, she underwent an actual abortion while the Christmas hymn Silent Night played in the background. Following the abortion, Pope returned to the White House where she sipped wine as Ave Maria played in the background. I do remember that scene, actually. Very profound. That caused the Media Research Center to call that episode an hour-long advertisement for Planned Parenthood. Rhimes then responded to that criticism of that episode saying, "In this scene, we were portraying a medical procedure that is legal in the United States of America." She said, "I wasn't sure what everybody was so concerned about. I was accurately portraying a medical procedure that the Supreme Court says people are allowed to have. I wasn't going to pull any punches." I don't know if you all saw the picture going around the interwebs a few weeks ago of those men negotiating the women's issues at the table, but it certainly made an impression on me and once again reminded me of the white capitalist patriarchy system running this country. When asked what Rhimes' role would entail on the board, Cecile Richards said, "When so much of basic health care is under attack, as we just saw a few weeks ago as a room full of men negotiated away maternity benefits for women, it's never been more important for people's stories to be told." Dateline, Chicago. There's a manhunt underway after an Illinois judge was shot dead outside of his Chicago home. Cook County Judge Raymond Miles and a female companion were shot outside of his Southside Chicago home in what police are saying might have been an attempted robbery. Police said the woman, 52, encountered the gunman by the garage of the two-story brick home. Words were exchanged as she was shot once in the leg. Upon hearing the commotion of the gunshot, Judge Miles exited his residence, according to Melissa Staples, the chief of detectives. He exchanged words with the offender before he was fatally shot multiple times. The woman is expected to survive.
Earlier today, in yet another senseless act of violence, two adults, a male and a female, were shot outside of the residence in the 9400 block of South Forest Avenue. The female in the incident sustained a non-life-threatening injury and is expected to survive. The male, Raymond Miles, who was a Cook County criminal court judge, was fatally shot on the scene. Superintendent Johnson has been fully briefed on the incident and has ordered the department to use every resource to track down the offender and bring them to justice. Every day, civil servants like Judge Miles and those of us in law enforcement work tirelessly to hold criminals accountable and make our streets safer. You have our word that we will not let Judge Miles' life be lost in vain, and we will hold his killer accountable.
I mean, this was a phenomenal human being. I don't don't know who is going to replace Judge Miles. He ruled his courtroom with an iron fist, but with the great amount of kindness, fairness, and justice. I mean, he wanted to hear what was going on with you. He even told you, I want you to get your GED if you don't have it. This is so tragic. I was stunned when I heard it.
Miles, 66, an associate judge in Cook County Circuit Court's Criminal Division, was a longtime jurist who had been involved in several high-profile cases. Just a year and a half ago, he was actually beaten by another motorist during a road rage incident. Witnesses say the suspect fled on foot and then possibly in a car nearby. The FBI has offered a $25,000 reward for the information leading to his arrest, or to an arrest. Neighbors believe that cameras installed by the judge at his home may have caught the shooting. There had been a push recently to get cameras installed throughout the neighborhood. Dateline, The Friendly Skies.
Just kill me. Just kill me. Kill me. Just kill me. Can you go on? Kill me. Just kill me. Just kill me. Just kill me.
I'm sure everyone has seen the videos by now of the Asian passenger literally being dragged off a flight by security while horrified passengers looked on. Seeing him literally dragged down the aisle with his face bleeding, almost chanting, "Just kill me," over and over is sickening and sad. Now, he was saying "just kill me" as he was standing thereafter, but just the two separate videos are quite telling. But wait, it gets worse. In a Monday night email, according to the Fortune magazine, United CEO Oscar Munoz told employees that the passenger was disruptive and belligerent and defended the actions of some of the airline personnel involved, citing that the passenger raised his voice. Seems like I've been guilty of this at the gate for sure. I've actually had a gate agent threaten to call the police because I didn't want to pay the check my bag fee after showing her it clearly fit in the bin. But anyway, making this about me as usual. Back to the email. It also said that he refused to comply with the crew's and security officers' direction. He went on to say, "While I deeply regret the situation arose, I also emphatically stand behind all of you, and I want to commend you for continuing to go above and beyond to ensure we fly right." Pardon me, I think I just threw up a little bit in my mouth. Fly right? Really? Especially considering all of this was done because of an overbooked flight, which has nothing to do with any paying passengers. And they needed those seats to get another crew to another city so that flight wouldn't be late. Needless to say, I believe United CEO and crew missed the mark here. And for the cherry on top, shares of United actually closed up nearly 1% Monday, even as Twitter users and others threatened to boycott the company. How about we end the show on some good news? Dateline, New York City. Last week, New York City passed a law banning prior salary questions in hiring to help close the wage gap. Equal pay advocates hope that the move will close a gender wage gap they say disproportionately hurts Asian, Black, and Hispanic women. Being underpaid once should not condemn one to a lifetime of inequity, public advocate Letitia James, who introduced the bill in August, said in a statement. Also, New York State has become the first state with free tuition for middle-class students at 2- and 4-year public colleges. Starting this fall, undergrads at state and city universities with families earning under $100,000 can apply for scholarships. Way to go, New York. Way to go. For Elevate Digital, the Vocal Minority Report, this has been the Negro News Minute. All power to the people. Peace.